Hello everyone, Daniel Kerr here. Anytime online you see a discussion about mastering or mastering at home, and particularly when somebody brings up AI mastering services or automated mastering services like Lander and these others, there's always comment sections rife with comments from people who either are mastering engineers or they pay big money for mastering, and they always say the same thing, like, you trust your ears, you can't, these machines are never going to replace a professional mastering engineer, right? So at this point I know that that's true. Okay, I also know that our AI tools have gotten insane. Let's face it, Midjourney in its current state threatens to put all graphic artists and all photographers out of business at once, which is insane. Things are just going to progress from here and get more and more incredible as far as AI mastering and AI music production tools. All that aside, another thing that's true is that it doesn't even matter who these people are who are paying big fat money for mastering. They are still, when they're working on their songs at home, going to bust out a quick master, all right? Whether they're mastering engineers or not. Every single person who's watching this, who produces music, produces their own masters at home, periodically or regularly. You're going to do it because you want something that's bright and listenable while you're in your car or while you're in your earpods or blah, blah, blah. That being said, I want to show you guys what I've been doing as far as creating my own parallel multiband processing in Ableton Live. Lately, I've been experimenting a lot with the drum bus, and we're going to see how what I do and my technique, how it compares in an A-B comparison against iZotope Ozone, which I think is the most common middle-of-the-road cost at-home mastering tool. Okay, here we are in Ableton Live, and I've got a little bit of music here. This is a project I've been working on. This is not how the song goes, but I wanted to grab a variety of highs and lows. There's some subs in here. There's a lot of headroom. This is mixed, but it is not mastered, not in the slightest. Let's listen to it. Okay, so as you can hear, there's a wide variety of textures and nuances in this music. So the first thing I want to do is actually using Ozone 8 elements, I'm going to bust out a quick at-home master, and I'm going to use what it calls its master assistant, so it listens and it decides what the EQ settings, etc. should be. Before we do any of that, actually, I'm going to throw a Voxengo span on here so we can see what's actually going on. I can hear some things, but my ears are not that great, all right? And another thing is I do all of this in headphones, so my stuff sounds terrible anyway. And it's not because I'm lazy, it's because I live in a tiny little spot with a family and I don't have a proper listening setup, right? Good monitors. I don't have it where I happen to be. Let's listen. Okay, right away you can see there's a large amount of highs up here. This is not typical of a good bass heavy reference track. Usually there's a slope from about 60 hertz down. There's a tiny spike in the highs to make it a little crispy, but it kind of slopes downward, all right? And right away I can see that there are problematic high frequencies, okay? So let's see what the old iZotope Ozone has to say about it. So we'll throw this elements in here. Now, I'm going to go to Master Assistant. I'm going to play some of the music. We're going to go CD. We're going to go medium. And when this is done, it's going to sound bright. It's going to sound present. It's going to sound loud. Okay? The frequencies are generally pretty good. A lot of times it's really overdriven, and I have to dial back the threshold of the maximizer just to get it to sound, to clarify everything. But nonetheless, let's listen to what it does, okay? It's working. Okay, there's the loudness, that boost. Okay, listening. Sounds pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Let's see what the Okay, some of those high frequencies have been tamed, right? A little bit. Let's look at the, well, let's dial it back a little. It's not quite loud enough, I think. Okay, let's look at the equalizer. You can see that it boosted the mids and that it cut the highs, right? To get it to rein it in, okay? So there is our ozone master. We can tweak it a little bit, okay? We're not gonna, we're just gonna leave it the way it is. I'm gonna group that track and I'm gonna build a chain right next to it. So first thing I want is I'm gonna grab an EQ3. So in audio effects, I'm gonna grab an EQ3 and drop that down there. And this EQ3, I'm gonna grab just that guy. I'm gonna group it so that EQ3, I can make 3 copies of EQ3. And this, first off, I'm gonna turn off this ozone here. And before we go any further, actually, you can see the mute, the ozone channel is muted and the other channel that I'm building now is turned on. What we're going to do is go Control K so that I can set a hotkey, and I'm going to map the 0 key on my keyboard to the mutes. And with 1 off and 1 on, Control K again to get out of here. Now I can hit 0 and it'll give me an A-B comparison. You can see that down there. So right now, in my audio effects track, this is going to give me 3 instances of the audio and make it super loud and unlistenable. But this bottom EQ3 right here, that's going to be my lows. I'm going to mute the highs and the mids, and that just leaves the low frequency. Now, if you look down here, you can see that the low frequency is set to 250. 250 lets a lot of low mids in, and you know, some highs. Basically, I would, if I was doing this on a serious note, I would dial in these frequencies a little better, but I'm going to leave them as is. Let's solo this and listen. Okay, all we're hearing is the lows, right? So in the next one up is the mids. We're going to mute the lows and the highs. The top one is the highs. We're going to mute the mids and the lows. Let's listen. That's with this rack, and this is without. As you can hear, there actually are a little bit of differences. Somebody who's good at this, I've got a nice pair of headphones, and I can hear the difference a tiny bit, but it's negligible. Right away, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo that low frequency, and I'm going to go to drive and color up here. I'm just going to drop a drum bus, okay? Now, here's the thing about these drum buses. There are so many options here. I could do so many things. Number one, right off the bat, I want to compress. This compressor is kind of like, I don't know if it has some sort of a deep learning algorithm or something, because it compresses things differently depending on the material. I've tested this. There are no controls for this compressor, right? One thing though, let's listen. You can hear it's much, much louder because we got a little drive here. If I turn it off, it's quieter. In the subs, let's turn the drive all the way down. What I want to do is, it's compressed. I want to try to match the volume just a tad. Okay, so this is with it off. If we look at span, we can see where we're at here. We can see that the subs are between 58 and 80 hertz, really. Now I turn it back on. Let's dial the trim back down. I'm going to make it -12. Let's listen to the mids. Let's drop a drum bus in there. This has a little drive. I like the drive. Let's compress it. Let's turn the trim once again to -12, just to try to even it out, okay? A little more drive maybe? Nope, we're not gonna. We're just gonna leave it the way it is. And then the high is here. See, that's, I would change that frequency as well, but it is what it is. Let's drop a drum bus on there. Let's compress it. And let's make this one -12. Now let's listen to them all together. That's with, without. Listen to this, and now listen to this. It is so present, all right? It sounds good, it's wide. It sounds like the frequencies are not fighting as hard as they would. Let's do a couple of things. In the highs, let's turn some distortion on in the highs. That's what this crunch, it gives it brightness. And we can even open it up down here with the transients. See, that's wide open. This is tighter. It acts like a gate, okay? Let's give it a tiny little bit, okay? This guy here, let's give that one, well, let's just leave it alone, okay? Now let's look over to the master channel. You can see that guy is already right up to 0, okay? We can give it a little more boost, but if we're looking at these frequencies here, the highs are very loud. We can just come over here. Let's start with this. Let's give this a little, give it some trim. Turn the trim up here. Before we do the last one, let's put a limiter on there. Let's put the stock limiter. Get me in all kinds of trouble saying something like that. Many people loathe the stock limiter. Put it at the end of all channels. Okay. Okay, now we're going to dial in. We can look at this. Looking at the spectrometer, looking at the graph, I can put it right where I want it. And of course, I'm using my ears. You can see this is cut at -15. This guy in the middle, pull it out a little, dial it back. Okay, before we push this limiter, let's put this limiter on the outside here. And let's take, nope, let's not. Let's put it back, and let's do an EQ8. Let's put that on there as well, but let's put it before the limiter. And what we'll do with this EQ8 is in the first band 1, we'll give it a high pass filter and cut out all the low subs below 30 Hertz. That's fine. In 4 here, let's do a low pass filter and cut off the highs. That's not a good position though. We're going to listen and dial it back while watching the graph. Just going to pull it back a little until it's giving me a deep cut here, right? We don't want to get rid of all the highs. We don't want to get rid of any crispiness. Now let's drive it with the limiter a little. Let's see how high we can get it. Ah, listen to that. Okay, just a tad, little drive. Now let's A-B. Ozone. Hours. Use some brightness. Ozone. hours. Ozone, hours. So I'm not gonna lie, I love this method. It leaves a lot of tweaking and a lot to be desired. Right? I threw these on here without tweaking any of the parameters, just because I wanted you to see how it was. I did do some cuts with the EQ8 and of course driving with the limiter. It adds a color, it adds a depth and a richness that I really, really like. And I am not a mastering engineer, and I caveat, just like the people in the comments, this is not a substitute for paying for good mastering or somebody with a trained ear and proper equipment, right? There's a million things that's wrong with this picture, but this is super fun, and I'm going to enjoy experimenting with this, and I hope you will too, and it's something to think about. Be blessed.